Even as Sikkim reels under the aftermath of a deadly glacier lake outburst in South Lhonak Lake last October, there's another fast growing glacier lake in the Uttarakhand Himalayas which has now become a cause of concern. The scientists who are studying this glacier lake say that it has grown exponentially over the last 40 years. CNN News 18 spoke to Dr. Kalachand Sain. He is the director of the Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology.
So, if you look into the Himalaya states, particularly Uttarakhand state, we have found out approximately more than 1000 glacial lake and around 980 glaciers. And those glaciers, all glaciers and glacial lakes are not posing any threat to the downstream. And from Uttarakhand state, 13 lakes have been identified. They are the Moraine Dam lakes, and some glaciers, around 10 glaciers or 7 glaciers from Uttarakhand state by Wadia Institute we have been monitoring to understand the health of the glaciers, to understand the health of the glacial lake. And all of us know that under the influence of the climate change, global warming, glaciers are retreating, glaciers are melting, thinning, and that water, melt water, is being accumulated into the glacial lake, and the lake is also being expanded, new lakes are being formed. So, we are constantly monitoring the glaciers and glacial lake to understand their health, whether it can pose threat. That we have experienced in 2021 Rishiganga Dhalinganga glacial avalanche, 2013 in Kedarnath, and of course, in 2000 last year we have experienced into the Sikkim South Lhonak. So, if similar situation, and we have found out one lake into the Bhagirathi catchment is called Bhilangana Lake. During the last 47 years, it has grown to 0.38 square kilometer area, and this shows some sort of concern to assess and monitor that lake, because the lake is also situated at great height, as well as the slope in the downstream is also quite large, more than 25°. So, if something related to Chorabari, what we experienced in 2023 Kedarnath happens into this region, we have found out that this lake need to be monitored and need to be assessed, so that if something related to Kedarnath glacial lake outburst flat takes place into this region, we will be able to safeguard the people, save the lives, livestock, property structures into the downstream. So, we are constantly monitoring, and we have reported about this expansion of this lake to the Uttarakhand State Disaster Management Authority.
Apart from the increased risk of the glacial lake outburst floods or the GLOF events, the fast retreating glaciers of the Himalayan region are also a major cause of concern. Dr. Sain talked about some of these glaciers which are being extensively studied by the Indian scientist. Gangotri Glacier in the Uttarakhand region, which is the largest glacier in the Western Himalayan region, is one such glacier. He says that the glacier has been retreating at about 15 to 20 meters per year.
We have been looking into the Gangotri glaciers, and during the last many years of observations from the glaciers in the Gangotri, by placing automatic water level recorder, automatic weather station, glacier, that hydrometeorological data, we have seen that the glacier has retreated at a rate of 15 to 20 meter per year. So, this also shows concern that if the lake gets retreated like that, the fate of the glacier will be very bad, it may affect. So, we are looking into several other glaciers also, but I will have pointed out that in Himalaya region, all the glaciers retreating rate are not same. In the Karakoram region, we have also seen that some of the lakes, some of the glaciers are advancing. So, as a whole, we want to know that what will be the fate of the glaciers into the entire Himalaya, particularly with reference to the Uttarakhand Himalaya. That this region is also stressed by lot of activities going on beneath the surface, on the surface, under the climate change influence. So, we have to make a balance. How we will be able to exploit the resources for the socio-economic growth, as well as preserving, conserving the ecosystem and biodiversity of the fragility of the Himalaya.
The recent spate of disasters happening in the Himalayan states have clearly exposed the vulnerability of this region. And as Dr. Sain says, what we need is a balanced approach, a scientific approach before any developmental projects are executed in this region. This region is completely stressed, not just from the activities happening beneath the land, but over it. Let's hope that in the next few years we learn from these lessons and ensure that the people and the livelihood of this place can be protected.